All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive. We love to get a little spooky sometimes. So today we're going to take a look at, well, this video that popped up in my feed called Haunted Asylum, What We Found Will Shock You.
Oh, yeah, I saw that one too.
I mean, come on with a title like that. How can you not click it right?
They can't.
But this one's about Willowbrook Asylum,
Oh, wow.
which, already adds kind of another layer to it because it was closed in 1972
Right.
after, reports of patient abuse and over 200 deaths on the ground. So it's got a little extra oomph to it.
Absolutely.
So let's dive into this thing.
Let's do it.
So right away, they start out with this really classic horror movie vibe.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like drone footage of the building,
Yeah.
stormy skies, eerie music, like right out of the gate.
Yeah, the music is always like super minor key. Like,
Yeah.
something bad's going to happen.
Oh, yeah. And they're talking about like, you can just feel like a heaviness in the air.
Oh, yeah.
And there's whispers all around us and stuff. And
Right off the bat.
I don't know.
Setting the stage.
What do you think about that kind of opening?
I mean, it definitely sets the stage. It's a very, effective way to kind of get the viewer
Right.
primed for what's about to come. But it also can be a little bit manipulative.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, are they trying to make it scary before they even go in?
Exactly. Are they, trying to influence the viewer's perception before they've even seen anything?
Right, and they're using those hashtags, too, like hashtag Willowbrook Horror and hashtag Stay Out.
Oh, yeah, all those, like, clickbaity hashtags you gotta have.
It's like, okay, we get it.
Yeah.
So moving on, they finally get inside,
They make it in?
and they're in the patient wing now.
Okay.
And they've got their infrared cameras out, they've got their EVP recorders, like all the classic ghost hunting tools.
The tools of the trade.
Yeah, and I actually had a thought about that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we see all these tools used all the time, but we never really think about, like, where they came from.
Right. The history.
Of these tools.
Absolutely.
Like the EVP recorder.
Uh-huh.
I was reading that it was actually developed for, like, recording bird songs.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
And then later on, people started using it for, trying to capture these spirit voices and stuff.
So it had a completely legitimate scientific origin.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it kind of got appropriated
Yeah.
by the paranormal community, which is interesting.
It is. It's like they're taking, actual scientific equipment and applying it to something that's not really scientific.
It gives this kind of air of legitimacy to it.
Yeah.
When really, the evidence is still pretty questionable.
Right. So back to the patient wing.
Okay, back to the video.
All of a sudden, there's like this loud bang.
Oh, boy, here we go.
And you can see like one of the crew members like kind of jumps
Yeah.
and he's like freaking out a little bit.
It wouldn't be a ghost hunting show without somebody freaking out.
Right.
You got to have that.
And then they're looking at the thermal camera and there's like this shadowy figure
Dawn.
that like moves across the whole moon.
Oh.
And like, oh my God, what was that?
Yeah, what do we make of that kind of evidence?
I don't know. Like, obviously it looks creepy on camera,
Sure.
but, it's an old building,
Yeah, there could be a lot of explanations for something like that.
like a draft or something.
Yeah, exactly. Temperature changes can cause all sorts of weird readings on those cameras.
Right.
And, EVP recordings, it's like they'll pick up any little sound,
Yeah.
and then they'll say, oh, that's a voice saying this or that.
It's like, well, it could just be like the wind.
Exactly. It's so open to interpretation.
But they're using these hashtags like hashtag demonic voices and hashtags nightmare fuel.
Oh, of course, gotta make it scary.
So they're really, playing it up.
Yeah, they're really playing up that fear factor. And I think that's something that's really important to consider is like the language they use. And because, if you're constantly hearing words like demonic and nightmare,
Right.
it's going to affect how you perceive the evidence.
Absolutely. Okay, so then
Keep going.
they find this hidden basement.
Oh, no, a hidden basement.
I know, right?
Every horror movie has a hidden basement.
And it's like full of these occult symbols.
Oh, boy.
And there's like a blood-stained altar.
Okay, this is getting a little much. Like, come on, guys.
It's like they're checking off all the box.
I know, it's like a horror movie checklist.
Haunted Asylum checklist.
Right, and of course, the EVP picks up chanting now.
Of course, there's chanting.
There's another shadowy figure.
Yeah, and it's probably wearing a hood.
Oh, yeah, probably.
Yeah. So what do you think about all this occult stuff?
Well, I mean, it's definitely creepy,
Sure.
but do you think, like, occult symbols automatically equal demonic activity?
That's a good question. And I think, there's a lot of different interpretations of these symbols, depending on the culture, the historical context.
Right. You can't just assume that every pentagram means that,
Yeah.
You're dealing with demons.
Right, right. And they're using these hashtags like hashtag satanic ritual and Hashtag true horror.
Oh, yeah. I got up the ante.
So they're really, laying it on thick.
Yeah, they're really pushing that narrative.
Okay. And then they do the classic "they followed us home" thing.
Oh, no, they didn't.
I know, right?
They always do.
Like last scene, they're driving in their car,
Uh-huh.
and a ghostly face appears in the window.
Oh, my God.
And then the screen cuts to static.
Classic. Ah!
So is that a common thing?
What, the static?
No, the hauntings following you home.
Oh,
Is that something that's actually reported in paranormal investigations?
I don't know. I feel
Okay.
like it's more of a horror movie trope.
Yeah, it feels very like Hollywood.
But then again, maybe these people are just like
Mm-hmm.
so spooked out from their experience that
Yeah.
they're like seeing things.
Right. Their minds are playing tricks on them.
Yeah. They're primed to see something scary.
And then the final message is like, stay away from
Oh,
Willowbrook.
of course they got to have the warning.
With all the hashtag Kurt's places, hashtags.
Right.
It's like, are they trying to scare people away?
Or are they trying to get more views?
I know, right?
It's like a double-edged sword.
It's like, do they want people to go there or not?
Yeah. Is it a warning or is it an invitation?
So, what have we learned today?
I think we've learned that a lot of these, ghost hunting shows,
Uh-huh.
they follow a very specific formula.
Yeah.
They use a lot of these classic horror tropes.
Right. Lots of jump scares, scary music.
Ominous warnings.
Yeah, and they're really good at,
Building suspense.
playing on our fears.
Absolutely.
But is any of it real?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
I know. I don't have the answer.
And I think that's something that, each viewer has to decide for themselves.
Right. Like, do you believe in ghosts or not?
Exactly.
But here's a thought.
Yeah.
Why are we so drawn to these stories?
Especially
In places like Willowbrook with,
with such a dark history.
Like-
such a troubled past.
are we looking for explanations for things that we just don't understand?
Mm-hmm.
Or are we just drawn to, like, the thrill of the unknown?
Or maybe a bit of both.
Yeah, maybe it's a little bit of both. Well, that's something to think about.
Food for thought.
Definitely let us know what you think.
Yeah, hit us up in the comments.
Are you a believer or are you a skeptic?
We want to know.
Until next time.
Stay curious.
Keep exploring.
Don't get too scared.